At the beginning of 2025, I set out to listen to 1,000 new music release albums in one calendar year. 2 months in, my total is 117, which is well behind the 177 I need to be at to be on pace. So we've got some work to do. Take a quick second and comment your guess on the number I hit this month. The winner gets nothing. My monthly record so far is 60. Did I beat it? Nels Cline, Consentrik, Quartet. Struggling with that pronunciation. I know Nels Cline from his stellar lead guitar work with the band Wilco. He has an indelible style that contrasts well with that band's often more contemplative and insular songs. If you want to have fun, though, take a stroll through his discography on Wikipedia. He's put out a staggering 44 solo releases as a leader, mostly focused on jazz. A little different as a sideman. He's worked with Mike Watt, Wayne Kramer, Lee Ronaldo, and Yoko Ono. Side note, great collaboration with Medeski, Martin, and Wood on Woodstock Sessions Volume 2 that I highly recommend. But this release this week features an interesting mix of experimental and more palatable jazz, enlisting a murderer's row of avant-garde players. Fans of post-bop and outright improvisational chaos will all find something to dig here. Some of Cline's work flies well over my head, but this release really hits a sweet spot of pushing boundaries without melting into a pool of sonic ooze. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I like Sonic Ooze. Great name for a band, by the way. Jason Isbell, Foxes in the Snow. Start with Isbell because he's the biggest name in my preferred style of music out there right now, and this is good. It's worthy of a couple spins for sure, and the sparse instrumentation is a pretty good move for the subject matter. Lacks the dynamics that kind of makes it a tough full album listen, in my opinion. Still, a few songwriters with a higher ceiling than Isbell. He does seem like a tough guy to be in the same room with, but this lands firmly in the above average bucket. Neal Morgan, Paul, he's the drummer for Joanna Newsom and Bill Callahan. Close to a solid green on this, but just a little too much fat, but there is great songwriting and certainly an interesting perspective. Tobacco City, Horses. Would have liked a little more diversity in the vibes, but this is, super mellow. The songs are killer though. Mike Farris, The Sound of Muscle Shoals. Founder and lead singer of the Screamin' Cheetah Willies. Close to a solid green here, but kind of old man vibes, running a little too hot and couldn't quite get there, but the highs are really high though. Perfume Genius, Glory. This is front-loaded AF, but definitely merits multiple listens and hyper interesting on all levels. Sierra Hull, A Tiptoe High Wire. With guest spots from Tim O'Brien, Aoife O'Donovan, and Bella Fleck, the musician here is incomparable. My only reservation is the songs don't quite get there for me. They're good, but fall more into the Alison Krauss vein a bit too much, which is not a horrible thing at all. But I would have loved to see some chances taken. It feels very safe. Likely would benefit from multiple listens, though. And I came in with high expectations. Population 2, Main Tenet, Jamais? I don't know. Canadian psychedelic rock band from Montreal. A hair flimsy, but overall really fun and more than overcomes any deficiencies. Again, dial it up multiple times. I think it really benefits from that. David Ramsey, All the Not So Gentle Reminders. This is country-tinged melancholy. There's plenty of interesting stuff going on, solid songwriting and overall vibes, if a bit understated and lacking in real diversity of sound. My Morning Jacket is, I'm a fan, so grain of salt here. I haven't really kept up with their latest releases, but this was really good. Neil Francis, Return to Zero. Little bit of a coal mine bump here. He used to be on the Coal Mine Records label, but this is fun, funky stuff. Japanese Breakfast, for melancholy brunettes and sad women. Merits multiple listens. There are subtle country vibes. I don't have a ton to say about it, but always interested in what this artist is putting out. Rose Betts, There Is No Ship. English singer-songwriter, very much older European sounding, and I almost never mean that as a compliment. However, this is very clever and has some real jumpers. Pug Johnson, El Cabrino. Country artist hailing from the outskirts of Beaumont, Texas. This is classic Texas Americana vibes. Heavy country twang with high wire musicianship and blended music, cultural touch points. Bob Willis, Tex-Mex, Louisiana, really cast a much wider swath than much of the more traditional Nashville sound. Charley Crocket, Lonesome Drifter. This is almost a cartoon version of country music, but light years ahead of the corn dog stuff that most country fans are swooning over. Jamestown Ferry is a great song, and he's definitely one to watch. I definitely like Crockett. The argument could be made that if he put out one album every couple years, he would already have half a dozen stone cold classics. The sound starts to sour on a full album listen a bit also. But his commitment to the bit certainly deserves praise, if nothing else. Bob Mould, Here We Go Crazy. Rises above the old manness of it all, but still probably closer to a solid yellow. Courting, Lust for Life, or How to Thread the Needle and Come Out the Other Side to Tell the Story. Whew! Don't have much time to talk about it. Kind of a 90s vibe. A long title. So that ate up a lot of my video here reading the title of that album. Kind of a 90s vibe. It's a slow burner. And the first track doesn't really do it any favors. That's often hard to overcome. Weaving, Webs. Really solid songs. Kind of an M. Ward vibe, which is high praise. I love M. Ward. Dead Meadow, Voyager to Voyager. American psychedelic rock band formed in Washington, D.C. I am the target audience, but this may be closer to a solid yellow. Still plenty of good stuff to latch onto here. Brian D'Addario, Till the Morning. This is the debut LP from the Lemon Twigs co-founder. It's a weird mix of garage psych and sugary pop, closer to a solid yellow. Front-loaded AF, again, my catchphrase of the week. And it comes to a screeching halt with the last couple of songs. That really works against it. Fust, Big Ugly. American alternative country band from Durham, North Carolina. Again, closer to a solid yellow, but good songs. Kind of low-key bummer-ish. Palmyra, Restless. My only note on this says this is a Virginia folk trio, so not exactly a singing endorsement of how focused I was on this. Some sweet harmonies here and very tasteful musical decisions overall. Everything feels in its right place, which is incredibly hard to do, but just okay. Lady Gaga Mayhem. The Gothic Dance Queen. I'm not really the one to comment on her stuff, but I do respect her musicianship. My indifference may be due to more of a lack of understanding about what the genre is than any real criticism of her work. Edwyn Collins, Nation Shall Speak Unto Nation. No notes on this one. I re-listened to some of the singles, but, that made me confident that I was right being in the solid yellow range here. Annie and the Caldwells, Can't Lose My Soul. Super soulful and funky take on gospel. I'm not sure how often I'll revisit, so I can't quite get to green light status here, but it is close. It's very good. Benefits, Constant Noise. What the fuck is happening? Who rated this 93? Deacon Blue, The Great Western Road. This is so close to a green turning yellow. I just can't quite get there. It's really good when you take into account the old man corner of it all. A lot of times these older bands get to this point in their career and then they really fall off or they start being really self-referential. This feels pretty fresh and interesting, really, and I'm curious to see what the rest of their catalog sounds like. Maybe dig into their highest rated album and see what's going on there, because there's really some interesting melodic and harmonic stuff going on. Steve Wilson, The Overview. Closer to A Green Turning Yellow, but a little too busy to merit multiple listens, but super heady. Benefits as a long form experience, in my opinion. This guy really takes his time. Kind of proggy. This music skews more toward metal in modern times. It's kind of sciencey, I guess. Benmont Tench, The Melancholy Season. Jonathan Wilson and Taylor Goldschmidt in tow on this longtime Tom Petty keyboardist return with his sophomore album. It's been 11 years since the debut, and while I respect the craft, the songs just never really come together, in my opinion. Jethro Tull, Curious Ruminant. Two old manny strays far from the classic rock world. I'm not up on enough of their recent work to know if this is the path that they've been on for how long, but it's just kind of boring. Bag People, self-titled. This is Drag City. I don't know if it's good or bad. I just know it's not for me, and I definitely know I won't be listening again. Oh boy. Holger, Schuke, Gavoon, Bruning 1. Whew. Let's never read that again. Co-founder of the Krautwerk group Can. The rare This Is Not Music review from me. Literally an hour of just droning noise, and not in a good way. Cactus Lee, self-titled. Austin-based musician named Kevin Delhan. He has a tireless devotion to songcraft. His sound featuring melancholy, ornate arrangements akin to the likes of Gene Clark or Townes Van Zant's. I initially loved this, but it kind of falls apart as it goes on. Probably needs a second listen, but maybe more of a song-oriented type artist rather than albums. James Elkington, Pastel de Nada. The ceiling is pretty high here, but it just doesn't pass the will I listen multiple time test. Still, almost got there, and very solid. Butler, Blake, and Grant, self-titled. Ticks a lot of the boxes for me from instrumentation, arranging, and songwriting, although less so on that last one. Never really rises to the must-re-listen category. Butler is best known for his work in Suede, but has since been a prolific producer and collaborator. Norman Blake is the songwriter and lead vocalist for Teenage Fan Club, while James Grant was a founding member of Scottish band Love and Money. So pedigree definitely there. Alison Krauss and Union Station, Arcadia. Legendary artists that may always have my expectations too high. It just didn't grab me. It's a slow burn for sure, and while it's better than most things I've heard this month, and the musicianship is unassailable, it just kind of rode right past me as I listened. And again, maybe too high of expectations. Destroyer, Dan's Boogie. One of those artists I know I'm supposed to like. I just can't get there. Three months into this project, and I just want to take a second to give a shout out to music critics everywhere. In 2024, I listened to 500 new release albums. So I've been at this for a little bit. Nothing like the professionals at the legacy media outlets, but I'm starting to better understand the process they endure. The biggest thing that stands out is just how bland everything is and similar it all sounds. Listening to new music in this kind of volume can be exhilarating. When something leaps out of the speakers and hooks into you, it's like a drug. It turns into a high you chase. Inevitably, the sounds that really grab you are the oddball, out of left field stuff. On the flip side, if you look at pop music, the modern structure of top tier pop songs has been distilled into such a concentrated high fructose goo that it all starts sounding the same. Female singers start to have the same inflections, lyrics say less, and hearing just 30-minute blocks of that monotony really wears you down. It's not an indictment of the monotonous pop song. People gotta eat, I get it. But when listeners search for something exciting, it's not enough to just be good or technically proficient. In just a couple months, I'm already feeling the strain of pushing this boulder up the hill. The Fantanos of the world are out there digging through the safe and watered down. So when something a little ugly or rhythmically disjointed comes along, it's like a steak dinner for a starving person. That's not meant as a slight towards Fantano at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. I imagine he's tired of searching for pulse in zombies. I picture him heavily sighing before pressing play on the newest algorithmic friendly release that he has to listen to, wishing he could just spend the day spinning hardcore or old Death Grips tracks. If I've learned anything so far, it's this. Keep expectations in check and try to find beauty in everything. It doesn't mean I'll like it all. It's just about understanding the parameters that matter to me and staying true to that. Art in general and music specifically exist only to remind us that we are more than just biological survival machines. Submitting to the safety of the bland middle is not only boring, it robs us of true understanding. So that's March, Q1 in the books. And here are the final numbers for the month. Solid red, 1. Yellow turning red, 4. Solid yellow, 27. Green turning yellow, 22. Solid green, 1. For a grand total of 55. My lowest total of the year. I'm going to need to step it up in the coming months. And the running tally for the year, solid red, 4. Yellow turning red, 15. Solid yellow, 99. Green turning yellow, 48. And solid green, 6. For a total of 172. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. Until then, find some great music and play it loud.